Gin is a wannabe king from the Tekken series who was reincarnated into the world of warring kingdoms. With no memories of his past, all Gin could do was follow the stars in the sky and discover his past identity. However, before any of this, the Holy Kingdom of Parros was a blessed land where humanity prospered and business thrived. But it all changed when the Mongols attacked. Amidst the burning kingdom, the twin prince and princess are in their room when the king and the queen tell them that they will be leaving the kingdom to run somewhere far away from the reach of the Mongols. However, the Mongols are too fast and quickly reach the castle, which makes the king and the queen realize that they can't escape together. In the end, left with no choice, they can only send their children away so that at least their bloodline wouldn't end up dying at the hands of the war-hungry Mongols. They ordered a man named Rhea to take away the children, as they promised that they would follow after them shortly. However, their promise was just a false hope. The Duke, Naris, arrives and pushes back the Mongols on his own, which gives Rhea enough time to lead the children away. Naris fights bravely, but he is just a single man against an entire army, so he isn't able to do much before he is pushed to the edge of the castle, falling into an endless spiral with his fate unknown. Fortunately, his bravery allows Rhea to take the prince and the princess away to the Crystal Tower, where he activates the long-distance teleportation device. He sets the coordinates to one of their aunts who lives in a faraway place beyond the reach of the Mongols. However, at the end, the coordinates malfunction, which sends the twin prince and the princess to a random location. Rhea can only pray that they both will be fine, as the entire kingdom's future relies on their shoulders. Meanwhile, the twin prince and princess are teleported to a faraway forest in the middle of nowhere. Even though they escape this far away, they still somehow manage to land in Mongol territory, who continuously seem to be patrolling for intruders. The prince, Remus, is a greenhouse flower, so even the slightest bit of difficulty causes him to cry. The princess, Rinda, on the other hand, is far more courageous as she protects her royal brother and leads him through the dangerous paths of the forest. Unluckily for them, the Mongols are extremely cautious, so even the slightest bit of noise is enough to alert them. This is what happens when Remus accidentally touches a thorny bush, which makes him scream in pain. His scream catches the attention of the Mongol cavalry, who immediately start chasing after them. Rinda is fast, so she is able to run away, but Remus isn't so lucky and gets caught by the Mongols. Rinda can't just leave her brother alone, so she also stops and threatens the Mongols with her dagger. However, the Mongols easily disarm her and are about to unalive them both when suddenly, a man with the face of a leopard appears out of nowhere and attacks the Mongols. Despite being unarmed, the man defeats all of the Mongols with just his bare hands. Only one of the Mongols manages to escape, and after he runs away, the man with the leopard face drops down on his knees as he starts to scream in pain. Remus is extremely afraid, so he suggests that Rinda leave him alone and run away. Rinda, however, doesn't want to leave their savior in such a condition all alone, so she helps him drink some water, which calms the man and lifts his spirits. After the man has calmed down, he introduces himself to Gin, but that's all he remembers, as all the memories aside from that have been lost. Gin asks Rinda about her origins, but she doesn't answer as she still isn't sure whose side he is on. Gin doesn't understand, but he assures her that he has no sides. By the time they have finished talking, the night falls, which makes Rinda cautious as she tells Remus and Gin that they should quickly move out and find a shelter. She explains that they are in a forest called Rudewood, which is infamous for its apparitions and savage tribes. After hearing this, Gin seems to remember something as he immediately orders the twins to gather some wood and make fire torches. At first, the twins don't understand, but soon they find out why Rudewood is so infamous. The soldiers whom Gin previously killed are possessed by the ghouls, who start to attack them. The fire torches that they made allow them to fight against the ghouls, but their luck keeps on getting worse, as soon after it starts to rain heavily, which makes their torches useless. Gin immediately orders the twins to jump into the pond, which saves them from the ghouls who can't get into water. After the ghouls leave, the group comes out from the other side of the pond and starts making their way out of the forest. Gin decides to accompany them as he also wants to learn about his past, and he feels that the twins will allow him to do so. But that's in the far future, as they currently have another problem at hand. The captain of the cavalry asks the twins if they are the heirs to the Parros kingdom. The twins are shocked as to how he knows this, so he tells them that he saw the insignia on Rinda's dagger, which matches the insignia of the royal family of Parros. Rinda didn't think that such small details would expose their identity. The Mongol captain orders the twins and Gin to surrender themselves, or else they will be mercilessly captured and dragged behind their horses to show the world their cruelty. Rinda can't accept such humiliation, so she agrees to surrender, but on the condition that they will let go of Gin, as he has nothing to do with them. The captain reminds her that she has no authority to barter with him and orders his soldiers to attack them immediately if they resist. Gin at first thinks about holding back the Mongols so that the twins can escape, but after carefully thinking of the consequences and how the children's safety might be compromised, he decides to surrender. The Mongols take the trio to their main base, and there they come face to face with the Lord of Staphylos, Black Count Vanon. After hearing his name, Rinda becomes terrified as she has heard of his evil reputation even in Parros. Count Vanon is amused that his reputation is so widespread. He comes close to Rinda and asks her what secret technique they used to travel this far away from the Parros kingdom. Normally, this would have taken them 10 days, yet they are here in just a day. Rinda refuses to answer his question even when Vanon threatens to torture them. Seeing her immense spirit, he decides to subdue her using his powerful aura. Rinda immediately starts to shiver in fear as she senses his oppressive aura approaching her. Fortunately, Gin covers for her and releases his aura, which causes Vanon to back away. Vanon's guard immediately puts his sword around his neck as a reminder that he is still a prisoner. Vanon is amused by Gin's strength, so he decides to execute him by putting him in a gladiator battle against a powerful gray ape. Gin has no weapon, so he has to fight the powerful ape with his bare hands. At first, Gin is winning, but then he loses focus, which causes the gray ape to use his tail to smack him around, which puts Gin on his knees. Just when Gin was about to die at the hands of the ape, one of the soldiers who had previously assisted in the capture of Gin threw his sword at him, which Gin used to kill the gray ape. The soldier's action causes Vanon's guard to become extremely angry, but Vanon lets him go as he enjoyed the fight. However, he doesn't want to free Gin this easily, so he asks his men to bring the mercenary that they previously had captured and have him fight Gin instead. Soon, the mercenary arrives, and he is as nonchalant as ever and doesn't even care to look at his opponent. However, just then, his eyes fell onto Rinda, and her beauty immediately stole his heart. He remembers something deep inside his heart and can't help but mutter the phrase Princess of Light. Coming out of his delusions, the mercenary turns towards Gin as he introduces himself to be Istvan, the Crimson Mercenary. Gin also introduces himself, although he has no title to speak of. Vanon's guard throws a sword at Istvan so that they both will be equal in the fight. Istvan is a bit mad about fighting an already exhausted and injured man, so he asks for a handicap, but the guard tells him to shut up and fight or he will be executed immediately. With no choice at his hands, Istvan is about to charge at Gin when suddenly Count Vanon detects something far away, and immediately stands up and leaves. His guard is also shocked, but he can only prematurely put an end to the fight as he informs them that they will fight tomorrow instead. Gin, Istvan, and the twins are taken to their prison cells, where the soldier who helped Gin also joins them. Gin learns about his name and tells Oro that he will forever remember him. Oro mentions that as a warrior, he couldn't see another warrior die at the hands of a beast, so he decided to help him. Gin and Remus are placed together in a cell while Rinda is taken into a separate one. There, she meets a furry little girl who turns out to be from a special monkey tribe called Sem. The little girl can't speak human language, but Rinda is able to learn her name, which is Suni. Meanwhile, Remus, who has never been away from his sister, becomes extremely depressed. Gin assures him that everything will be fine, which gives him some hope. They are both sitting silently in the cell when suddenly their gaze falls on a brick which seems to be shaking. Taking it out, they realize that it is Istvan on the other side who asks Gin if he is going to save the twins. Gin answers that he will do what he has to do and doesn't want to answer Istvan's question. Istvan doesn't mind his silence, so he starts speaking about his plan to escape as he comments that he was born with a jewel in his hand and a seer told him that he will rule the kingdom in his hands one day. After boasting about his great fate, he requests Remus to give him his blanket as he needs it to create a rope to climb down the tower. Remus hands it over to him as he doesn't really need it. Time passes by, and soon it's nighttime as everyone sits in their prison cells silently. Istvan seems to be waiting for something to happen, and after waiting for a while, he finally hears the noise that he has been wanting to hear and starts his plan of escaping. It turns out that the Sem tribe, which Suni belongs to, is attacking Vanon's castle to free her. Or at least this is what Rinda thought before Suni explained to her, with her broken words, that the tribe coming to save her is a rival tribe instead. Back to Gin, he manages to escape with the help of Oro, who hands him a sword so that he can fight the soldiers. They both start making their way out when they are faced with Vanon's secret guard, who ambushes Oro and heavily injures him with a single attack. Gin takes his revenge and kills the secret guard, but it's too late for Oro as he has already lost too much blood. Before he dies, he tells Gin about his hometown and requests that he visit his father, who runs an inn if he ever gets a chance. After Oro takes his last breath, Remus informs Gin that he can sense that his sister is in danger. Gin asks him to lead the way. Meanwhile, Vanon closes in towards Rinda as he reveals that he is tired of drinking commoners' blood and that he can't resist a royalty's blood anymore. Rinda is scared, but she still holds herself as she can sense that Remus is coming towards her. Soon, Gin and Remus arrive, and the former immediately attacks Vanon, who was about to plunge his ghastly hands into Rinda. Gin cuts off Vanon's mask, which reveals his true appearance. Everyone is shocked to learn that Vanon has no flesh as his body has already been possessed by a ghoul. All this time, Vanon has been consuming blood to sustain his life, but unfortunately, his luck ran out when he decided to lay his hands on Rinda. Gin and Vanon fight for a while, but neither side is able to gain any advantage over the other. Vanon has no fleshly body, so no matter how many times Gin attacks him, he keeps on regenerating. But just then, Gin thinks of an idea as he grabs a piece of cloth and wraps it around his sword. He then burns the wrapped sword, which causes it to become a flaming sword, which is the bane of all ghouls. After unaliving Vanon, Gin realizes that the whole tower is being consumed by flames, so they have no choice but to jump down. Fortunately, the tower is right beside a river, so he grabs onto the twins and the monkey girl as he jumps straight into the river. The group is rescued by Istvan, who was waiting for them at the shore of the river. After being rescued, the group waits for the day to come before they can plan their next move. Gin wants to search the meaning of the word aura, which is the only other word that he remembers aside from his name. The twins have nowhere to go, so they decide to keep on following Gin as well. The newest addition to their group is the cheerful monkey girl, Suni, who also decides to join them even though no one can really understand what she is saying, except for Gin, who surprisingly can understand her language. This makes Istvan even more curious about his identity as he wonders if he is wearing a leopard mask or if he is really a half-leopard. Curious about Gin and that his Princess of Light is with him, he also decides to follow them and see where life takes him. He suggests to the group that they can follow down the Kess River on a raft that he found nearby Staphylo's castle. His suggestion shocks Remus, who reminds him that the Kess River is called the River of Death and Darkness for a reason. But Istvan assures him that they will be fine and that he isn't called the Child of Destiny for no reason. With no other option left, they get on the raft and start following the downflow of the river. Just like Remus mentioned, the Kess River is bottomless, so it contains various monsters inside it. One of such monsters is a big-mouthed fish that can eat everything. Fortunately, their first encounter with a big mouth isn't too bad, as Gin is able to beat it up, which forces it to go down into the water obediently. Gin isn't too worried about the monsters inside the river. His eyes are on his surroundings, where he finds a peculiar woman staring at them. The woman immediately leaves after she notices his gaze, which confuses him as he doesn't understand her intentions. The woman turns out to be one of the generals of the Mongol army. Her name is Amnelis, and she is also the daughter of the Archduke Vlad, who rules over the eastern borough of the Mongol territory. She arrives at a city where the station Count Rickard is surprised to see her visit his county with so few soldiers. Amnelis tells him that she doesn't want to tell him his reasons for coming here, although she did find a peculiar man who caught her attention. Back to the group. They are still traveling down the Kess River when suddenly they notice a group of soldiers in white armor whom they recognize to be one of the Mongol army's divisions, which is right under the rule of the daughter of the Archduke Vlad. Istvan doesn't understand why they are here, but he soon learns the truth when the captain orders them to come to the shore and surrender themselves. Gin and the others refuse their offer, which causes the Mongol soldiers to start shooting arrows at them. This causes the group to become worried as they desperately try to get away from the Mongols. But luck isn't on their side as just then, they are attacked by the Big Mouth once again, who directly destroys their raft, leaving the group to be swept away to the shore. Fortunately, Istvan and Gin are able to save all three of the children, who immediately start a fire to warm themselves. While they are sitting around a fire camp warming themselves, Rinder receives a vision which informs her that a calamity is on their necks. She points it towards Istvan, who is shocked as he thought that he was the son of destiny. Meanwhile, Amnelis asks her subordinate, Gaius, to divine the location of Gin's group, and after using the divination board, he confirms that they are heading towards the Nosferus, which is the no man's land of the Sems, the kind that Suni belongs to. She sends her trusted aide, Maris, to bring Gin and the twins to her. She makes him promise that he won't unalive them as she needs them alive for questioning. Back to Gin. Things are getting heated as everyone starts to stay away from Istvan as they consider him a calamity. This makes Istvan laugh out of self-pity as he didn't think that even his allies would call him a traitor. Just then, they are attacked by an unknown ghastly tongue, but Gin's quick-witted efforts allow him to act earlier and burn it with flames. This method of fighting against the ghastly things makes him remember a place, Landok, but he doesn't know whether it's a country or a small city. Istvan tells them that it's the name of a ship that he once saw on the sea when he was 15. This information reveals a lot of things, but guessing won't give them anything, so they decide to stop and look later for more answers. For now, they head to sleep as they will have to travel even further tomorrow. However, the following morning, they are attacked by Mongols, whose leader this time is Amneli's trusted aide, Parros. Gin, as the leader of the group, engages in a battle with him as he orders the twins to leave alongside Istvan and Suni. However, Suni and Istvan are nowhere to be seen, which makes it easier for the Mongols to capture them. Gin surrenders too, and they all are taken back to the Mongols' captain to meet Amnelis. Amnelis isn't really interested in the twins as she is more inclined towards knowing the truth about Gin's identity. She asks Gaius to divine his identity, but aside from a leopard, he doesn't see anything. She can only ask Gin about his identity, but he tells her that he himself doesn't remember anything. She doesn't believe in his excuses, so she sends them away and asks her subordinates to torture them later on when they reach their destination. The following morning, the entire army set off towards their Alvon Keep, which is their next main base. For that, they have to move through the scorching heat of the desert. Everyone is already tired, but things get even more dangerous when a sandworm appears out of nowhere and starts demolishing the entire formation. This creature, which is straight out of the Dune universe, is extremely terrifying as it moves through the sand to attack one soldier after another. Amnelis immediately decides to retreat and set up a camp nearby as it's getting too late. At night, the traitor Istvan finally reveals himself as he plans to free Gin and the twins. He uses dry meat as bait to fish out a sandworm, which starts wreaking havoc upon the Mongols' camp, giving Gin and the twins enough time to easily escape. However, their movements are detected by the Mongols, and they immediately start to chase after them. They chase them pretty far deep into the Nosferus, which makes Gin a bit hesitant to move any further. He hands over the twins to Istvan and has him take them away while he himself goes back to stop the Mongols who are chasing after them. His efforts are pretty much useless as the Mongols had already planned a pincer attack, which puts both sides into equal danger. Gin is faced with dozens of Mongol soldiers while Istvan is faced with their captain, Astrias, who is extremely obsessed with Amnelis and wants to achieve great merit for her. Gin is facing a losing battle, or at least that's what he thought, but just when they are losing hope, Suni, who was missing since the ambush yesterday, finally comes back and even brings a whole army of Sems with her. With the help of Sems, Gin is able to push back the Mongols, who run away after their captain Astrias is defeated. Astrias asks Gin to slay him, but Gin spares his life as he feels a bit uneasy about unaliving him. Astrias feels humiliated and runs away, only to find that a whole army of the Mongols is gathering to invade Nosferus. Gin and Istvan also learn of the Mongols' movement, so they immediately head out to visit the Sems leaders and inform them of what's happening. Back to Amnelis, she discusses the future invasion of Nosferus with her commanders, who are a bit worried as they express their concerns for wasting such a big army on an inhabitable zone like Nosferus. Amnelis lets them meet a man who once went into the deepest parts of the Nosferus, and what he found there. Karmal reveals himself, and when the commanders look at his face, they are shocked as he has no flesh remaining on his face. He isn't bothered by their stares as he starts his story on how he went deep into Nosferus to become the apprentice of the legendary sorcerer Agrippa, but there he didn't find any sorcerer, but a giant rock shaped like a tree, devoid of any life. Surrounded by countless skeletons and poisonous gases, Karmal touched the rock, which turned out to be his biggest mistake, as the rock took all of his vitality, and he became a walking abomination. Amnelis wants to conquer Nosferus and steal this valley of death for herself, as she believes that if they can master its powers, they will be able to dominate the whole world. As for Gin, he unites all of the different tribes of Sem and gathers them on a single mission, which is to defend Nosferus from the invasion of the Mongols. The Sems consider him to be the spirit of their deity, so they accept his request and declare him the supreme commander of the coalition army. The following morning, Gin wields the legendary Sword of the Sems and wears black armor to show his courage against the Mongols. All the Sems cheer him up as they get ready to face the battle that will decide their future. With both armies stationed on the battlefield, they wait for the signals from their commanders to tear the enemy into two pieces. Amnelis is extremely confident in her 15,000 troops, which worries Morris, who knows how dangerous the Nosferus is and how unpredictable the battles can be here. But seeing Amnelis' confidence, the rest of the captains forget about this and start diving into the battle even without knowing what's coming for them. Gin uses this to his advantage and leads the battle by his own flow as he first sends a group of 500 Sems as a death squad to taunt the enemies, but when the Mongols doesn't take the bait, he moves on to his next plan, which is to use the terrain to battle against the Mongol army. Sems are used to living in the mountains, so they use the height advantage to surprise attack the Mongols, who aren't able to do anything as they are attacked from all sides. Using the chaos, Gin leads an elite squad to put fear into the enemy's heart as he immediately defeats Astrias, who wanted to redeem himself by defeating Gin this time. Seeing that Astrias was defeated so quickly, Morris takes charge to swiftly eliminate Gin this time. However, Gin has nothing to hold back today as the twins are already in a safe position. This allows him to use his powers to the fullest as he immediately knocks back Morris and even steals his weapon to throw towards Amnelis, who, for the first time in her life, learns the fear of death. This causes her to become immediately embarrassed as she realizes that Gin caused her to scream like a little girl. So in her anger, she orders all of her troops to chase after Gin and bring her his head. But this is exactly what Gin wanted, as he immediately signals the Sem to unleash their trump card, which is also known as the Nightmare of the Nosferus. The creature is called Ido, and it's a jelly-like substance that travels through the canyons and devours everything in its way. Amnelis and her troops are caught off guard as they aren't even able to process what's going on before one of their units, being led by a captain named Rienas, gets devoured. Astrias becomes extremely angry and sad after seeing this, as Rienas was his best friend. Amnelis is shocked at what happened as she asks her captains what that creature was. Gaius answers her question and informs her that it was Ido and that it can only be defeated by using fire. She immediately orders her man to go and dump all the coal onto the battlefield so that once the creature attacks once again, they will be able to burn the coal and slay it. However, the coal is insufficient and it doesn't affect Ido that much, which continues to wreak havoc upon Amnelis' army, who isn't able to do anything against such a monstrous creature. Her gaze falls onto Gin, who is watching all of this happen from the sidelines, which makes her realize that maybe getting into the bad books of this man wasn't a great idea. Meanwhile, Istvan, who was not present at the battlefield all this time, finally reveals himself at the Mongols' base, where he kills one of their soldiers and takes on his identity. He uses the fake identity to meet with Morris so that he can get close to them and learn more about the Mongols' movement. He even stages a fake assassination attempt on Morris by the Sems, which earns him the trust of Morris after he saves him. Morris transfers him to his own unit, which marks Istvan's mission to be successful. Back in Gin, he is still not completely confident in their odds against the Mongols, so he decides to gamble his life to recruit a strong ally that might increase their chance in their battle against the Mongols. He plans to head further deep into Nosferus to meet the Giants of Lagan, who are known to be extremely fearsome and terrifying according to the legends. He requests the Sems tribe leader to hold back the Mongols for just 4 days, as it will be enough time for him to come back with the help if he is successful. The Sems agree to his request, so Gin heads into the deep valleys of the Nosferus, deadly terrain which makes even a strong warrior like him shiver. If the terrible weather and terrain weren't enough, Gin also starts to hallucinate as he finds himself in a weird, dreamlike place. He notices a coin in his hand which on one side has the idol depiction of the god Janus, while on the other side it has the princess, which represents humanity. The voices ask Gin to choose his identity if he wants to be a human or not. They tell him that if he wants to become a human, he must get the 3 women. While Gin is confused as to who those 3 women are, he notices a silhouette of a woman flying away from him, so he chases after her, trying to grab onto her. But just when his hands touches the woman, the weird dream ends and he finds himself in a silent valley surrounded by wolves. He fights off the wolves who keep on coming, no matter how many he defeats. Fortunately, the wolf's pack leader arrives and howls away all the wolves who were attacking Gin. He then leads Gin towards another location, which turns out to be a giant valley of salt, where Gin finds a crystal baton, which he puts in his robe as he doesn't know what it's used for. After guiding him here, the wolf leader leaves, so Gin has to travel ahead on his own. After traveling through a few more valleys, he finally arrives at the Valley of Crystals, where he gets ambushed by the Giants of Lagan. Gin is captured and thrown into prison as the giants consider him an evil spirit. While he is rotting inside the prison, one young fella comes by the prison and drops a piece of dried meat. Gin eats it to gain some energy as he tells the boy that he is no evil spirit, and that he is sent here as a messenger by the god to lead Lagan on the right path. The young fella doesn't believe him, so Gin requests him to meet the king of their tribe. But the young fella answers him that they don't have any king but just the wise man Ka, and their hero Dodok. Gin instigates the young boy and tells him that he can defeat their hero Dodok, which makes the boy angry as he immediately complains to his tribe about his remarks, which gives Gin a chance to meet their leaders. Soon, Gin is presented in front of Ka and the hero Dodok. He informs them that he comes as a messenger from God to guide them on the right path. Ka doesn't believe in his words, so he asks him who that god is, to which Gin answers that it is Janus who guided him. But Ka reveals that they don't worship any god like that and that their god is Akira. Gin tells them that it's the same, as they all can't be seen, yet they see everything. But this doesn't sit well with what these tribesmen believe, so the hero Dodok immediately calls for his execution as the words that he spat were blasphemous. Gin calls Dodok a coward who doesn't want to fight him in one-on-one battle, which is why he is using such underhanded techniques. This pisses off Dodok, who accepts the challenge and tells him that if he can win, they will follow him wherever he wants. While this duel is going on, both Sems and Mongols are once again locked into a battle where Istvan finally plays the role that he has been preparing for so long. He lies to Maris that he has found the village of the Sems, and after they arrive at the village, they realize that it's empty. Maris starts to feel a bit anxious, so he looks around for Istvan, but he can't find him anywhere. This is when he finally realizes that they have fallen into a trap. But by the time he realizes, it's already too late as Istvan orders the Sem to drop the boulders that block Maris' exit, and he can only die at the hand of the soldier whom he started to trust the most. Istvan feels a bit guilty as he notices that Maris really trusted him, but unfortunately, in war, there is no such thing as feelings, so he can only buckle up and start preparing his next move. Back in Gin, he is getting beaten up by Dodok when suddenly the crystal baton that he once put in his robe randomly appears out of his hands and starts shining the whole cave brightly. Ka realizes that this must be a signal from Akira, so they start to worship him. They also start to bow down to Gin, whom they finally accept to be a true messenger from their god, Akira. After making sure that everyone is on the same page, Gin tells them about the war and requests their help against the Mongols. He reminds them that today it's the Sems, but tomorrow it might be them. Dodok and Ka accept his request and assure him that wherever he goes, they will follow him and fight any enemy that they want him to fight. Back to Mongols, Amnelis receives the news of Maris' death, which makes her extremely angry as Maris was not only her advisor, but also her grandfather. So to avenge him, she orders the fastest of her troops to go and find Sem's hiding location as she wants them gone immediately. Astrias, who wants to prove himself so badly, immediately takes the task and heads out to find the hiding location of the Sems. Lady Luck seems to be favoring him as he is quickly able to find the exact location where the Sems are resting. He brings this news to Amnelis, who promises to give him a big reward later on. With Sem's location in their hand, she is quickly able to gather her army and plan an attack in the middle of the night. Sems didn't expect the Mongols to attack in the middle of the night, so they were sleeping peacefully. Only Istvan knows the true nature of mankind, so he is wide awake, keeping an eye on any of the enemy's movements. This allows him to detect the Mongols' movement earlier, which gives him enough time to warn the twins about the Mongols. He doesn't warn the Sems, as such an attack in the middle of the night will only make them panic. He also has other reasons, one of which is to escape, as he doesn't want to die as a nameless soldier on this battlefield. In the cover of night, he quietly escapes and doesn't even bother to inform Rinda, whom he has been calling his Princess of Light for so many days. Rinda and Remus inform the Sems of the Mongols' movement, who immediately take steps to strengthen their defenses, as they have no time to prepare for war at this time. They can only pray that Gin comes back with the reinforcements before they are all wiped out by the Mongols. However, the sun is about to rise, but Gin is nowhere to be seen. The Sems are hopeless, which allows the Mongols to gain an upper hand very easily. The twins are also escaping from the Mongols, but Astrias, who wants to gain favor from Amnelis, keeps on chasing them even though they are deep into Sem's territory. Suni, who is running away with the twins, decides to sacrifice herself to give some time to the twins to escape. But Astrias is extremely cruel as he throws the young monkey girl straight into the canyon without even caring that she is a child. Just when the twins thought that they would be captured, Istvan, who had run away earlier on, comes back and decides to save them. He defeats Astrias in a duel, but before he can finish him off, Astrias runs away and rejoins the Mongol army. With the sun officially risen, it's the 4th day, which is also the day that Gin promised that he would bring back giants from the Lagan tribe to fight the Mongols. Sems are desperately waiting for Gin to arrive, and fortunately, he doesn't disappoint them as he arrives on the battlefield with an army of Lagan soldiers behind his back. With their help, Sems are able to push back the Mongols into retreat, who run away after realizing that they can't win against these barbaric tribes anymore. Instead of celebrating the victory, Sems are worried that Mongols might attack once again, so they offer to make Gin their king, so that he can lead both Sems and Lagan to defend Nosferus from the hands of the evil Mongols. Meanwhile, Amnelis arrives back at her home, where she meets her father, the Archduke Vlad, who is disappointed in her for not being able to achieve her mission to conquer Nosferus and bring back the leopard warrior alongside the Parros twins. Amnelis knows her failure and offers to let go of her position as the general. Archduke Vlad tells her not to worry about any punishment. Instead, he asks her if she can dance. Amnelis is confused, so the Archduke shows her the collection of ball dresses that he ordered for her. But Amnelis refuses to wear them as she tells the Archduke that she would rather die than dance in such odd dresses. Archduke doesn't pressure her. Instead, he informs her that she's 18 now, which means that it's about time she gets married. Hearing the word marriage causes Amnelis' face to contort just like this channel's viewers when they hear the word job application. In anger, Amnelis leaves the court and heads to her room, where her maid starts to appease her by telling her that she will look extremely beautiful in a wedding dress. Amnelis shuts them up by saying that no one deserves to marry her. Just then, her little brother Mile enters her room as he terrifyingly asks her sister if she is going to get married. Amnelis is lost for words, but she consoles her brother that she still has time, which makes the young fella pretty upset as he blames himself for not being strong enough to protect her. While this is all going on, a merchant is trying to enter the Crystal City, but the guards stop him as he asks him to identify who the people in his carriage are. The merchant introduces himself to be Lunan, and he informs the guard that the women in his carriage are his maids. The guards are still doubtful, so to appease them, one of the girls steps outside and tells Lunan that she doesn't want to be with him anymore, as the Mongol soldiers are far better of a man than him. The guards are too down bad and let Lunan go after the girl stays with them. After they enter the city, the other person inside the carriage removes his veil, which reveals his true identity to be Naris, the Duke of Crystal. Last time, he tried to save the Parros twins but was thrown down by the Mongol soldiers, but his luck was good, and he survived. Naris asks Lunan why he would let his only daughter walk into the Mongols' trap, but Lunan can only cry silently as his daughter's sacrifice will allow them to recapture their city away from the Mongols. For now, they just want to keep themselves hidden from the Mongols because if they knew that Naris is here, who knows what they will do. Naris's entry into the Crystal City reaches the ears of Emma, who is the aunt that the king and queen wanted to send their children to. Back to Gin, Dodok tries to stop him after learning that he wants to leave their tribe and travel alongside the twins. Gin tells him that he isn't leaving permanently and that he just wants some answers, and after he gets them, he will return and resume his duties as the king of Nosferus. But Dodok wants to fight him one last time so that Gin can prove to himself that he will be able to keep him safe. Unlike the first time, Gin is able to defeat Dodok, who admits his defeat and prays for Gin's safety during his travels. Both the Sem and Lagan tribes send him off as Gin leaves Nosferus towards his next destination to find the answers to all of his questions. Meanwhile, Naris, who was supposed to stay low, gets betrayed by a girl named Sarah, who was madly in love with him and didn't want him to go against the Mongols. After learning his intentions not to back away, she rats him out to the Mongols, which allows the Mongols to easily capture Naris without any bloodshed. After being captured, Naris is taken to the chamber where the commander of the Black Knights, Koslan, tortures Naris into revealing the truth behind the teleportation device that Parros' kingdom used to teleport the royal twins so far away from the kingdom. Naris refuses to answer. Instead, he continues to mock Koslan, which makes him even angrier. In anger, Koslan is about to take extreme measures, but is stopped by the commander of the White Knights, Terran, who frees Naris from the torture and takes him away while giving him the respect that royalty deserves. Koslan is pissed by his actions, but he can't do anything about it. This makes Naris learn more about the fractures between the different units of the Mongol army. Meanwhile, Amnelis is ordered by her father to go to Crystal, where she will meet her future husband. Even though Amnelis is displeased, she is forced to go, which makes Astrias extremely angry as he can't believe that his goddess will be defiled by another man. He plans to abduct her, so he also leaves for Crystal, but there he ends up stumbling into a bard whom he reveals everything to about his complex situation. The bard turns out to be the younger brother of Naris from another mother, who left the royal family because he was just an illegitimate child. He goes by the name of Marius now. Astrias is shocked, but before he can do anything, Marius sprays him in the eyes with a mist that knocks him down so that he won't spoil his brother's plan. Amnelis finally arrives at Crystal, where she gets to meet her future husband, who is none other than the Prince and Duke of Crystal, Naris himself. She immediately falls in love with him as his beauty surpasses even the most beautiful of the womankind. But in fear that she might end up pouncing on him, she hurriedly leaves the scene, which makes Naris curious as he starts to cook up another plan. Back to Gin. He is on his way to leave Nosferus, and alongside him is the usual crew. They need a raft to cross the Kess River, so they spend the night by the river where Remus dreams of the Carmal, who died in the Battle of Nosferus, but his soul still haunts him. Remus sees a few visions in his dream, which makes him curious about the implications behind them. So in secret, he starts to search for answers without telling anyone of what he saw. The following morning, the group is on their way to a town called Ross when Gin suggests to Reinda that it would be best if they travel alone without him, as his monster form would only bring them trouble. Remus agrees with Gin and tells Reinda that they should travel alone, but this only serves to make her angry, so she slaps him in the face to remind him who orders the crew around here. Remus can't believe that his sister would slap him, but he keeps his cool as Gin agrees to travel with them and safely guide them to Argos. Back to Naris, he once again meets with Amnelis, who is still a bit shaken after seeing him. She asks Naris why he is willing to marry her even though everyone calls her an ice princess. Naris jokes that even the toughest of ice will instantly melt when it meets the flame of passion. His sweet words are enough to melt the ice on her heart, which causes Amnelis to run away once again in shame. But before she leaves, he invites her to the Crystal Tower at night as he wants to show her the device that Parros' kingdom used to teleport the twins. Amnelis is interested, so she promises to meet him, but she doesn't know that she has already fallen into Naris's trap. Meanwhile, Marius tortures Astrias into revealing the whereabouts of Reinda and Remus. Astrias reveals that they are with a leopard man who goes by the name of Gin. Marius orders the sorcerer beside him to divine his appearance, and after he does, he immediately asks him to inform his brother Naris, as this matter is turning out to be extremely complex. Back to Naris, he waits for Amnelis to arrive at the Crystal Tower at night, and when she finally arrives, he takes her inside and shows her the mechanism behind the teleportation machine. He slowly builds her trust, but Amnelis is still cautious of him, so he throws her into the machine and tells her that she will be teleported into a random place anywhere in the world, which causes her to become terrified as she begs him to let her out. Naris accepts her plea and lets her out. Amnelis is on the verge of crying as she expresses her hatred towards Naris. Naris doesn't care as he simply pushes her into a kiss, which causes all of the hatred inside Amnelis' heart to melt instantly. With Amnelis in the bag, Naris starts to put his next plan into motion. While this is all going on, Istvan informs the group that the Mongols have declared war on Argos, so the town will be closed off soon, and they need to hurry up. They decide on a ship and, after changing into some commoner's clothes, they board the ship and set off towards Argos. However, once they board the ship, they realize that something is very fishy as all the crew members of the ship seem very kind to them. They even give them food and alcohol, but Istvan knows that it has sleep powder in it, so he throws it all away into the ocean. Later at night, the ship crew attacks the group, thinking that they will be sleeping, but instead they face the wrath of Gin and Istvan, who beat them up. The crew members are terrified of Gin, but before he can do anything, a bright light flashes across the sea as a ship made up of light crashes into them and disappears. Alongside the light ship, Gin also disappears, which makes the ship crew even more haughty as they try to attack the group once again. But fortunately, a lightning bolt strikes the ship, which causes everyone to become unconscious, and it's not till morning that they wake up once again. Meanwhile, Astrias, who has been freed after interrogation, once again tries to enter Crystal City to free Amnelis, but the guards don't let him in as they call him a traitor for deserting his position as the captain of the Mongol army. They are about to capture him when suddenly a sorcerer named Valerius arrives and aids Astrias in entering the city. Back to Istvan, he wakes up and remembers what happened last night. Now that Gin isn't here with them, he has to protect Reinda on her own. But fortunately, Remus, who saw the visions in his dreams, has finally gained a backbone and uses clever strategies to protect Reinda from the ship crew. After making the crew surrender, he is able to show his abilities to Reinda that even though Gin isn't here, he can still protect her. Inside the city, Naris meets with Rygia, who is the daughter of Lunan, who previously left her outside to divert the guards. Unlike the previous time, Rygia has regained her freedom to accompany Naris as his retainer. Just like all the other ladies, Rygia is also madly in love with Naris, but she knows that Naris is too above her, so she only keeps it in her heart. Rygia controls her feelings for Naris and informs him of her duties as a double spy for the Mongols. Naris knows that she has to sacrifice her purity to fulfill her role, so he offers her comfort by kissing her, but she refuses, as being able to help him is her greatest pleasure. While Rygia is leaving, Amnelis enters his room and notices Rygia's gaze. She immediately realizes that she also loves Naris, which makes her very jealous. But Naris assures her that he only loves her and no one else. Time passes by, and soon it has been 10 days since Gin last disappeared. Istvan, the twins, and Suni have already started to lose hope of seeing him ever again. After wandering on the ocean for 10 days, they finally arrive near an island, so at night they secretly take out a raft and swim to the island to escape from the ship crew who has been getting more and more upset with them lately. On the island, Rynda feels extremely depressed, so she starts to feel comfort in Istvan's company. The duo, in the heat of the moment, ends up signing their love for each other as Istvan promises to Rynda that he will forever protect her. While Rynda is declaring her love for Istvan, Amnelis does the same, but to Naris. After spending 10 days in the company of the most beautiful man in the world, Amnelis can't resist him anymore. While this is all going on, the tension between Mongols and Argos continues to rise as Duke Skull learns from his trusted aides that Duke Beck is in danger. He immediately gathers up an independent army of his own and heads out to save Beck and defeat the Mongols and their commander, Koslan, in the process. The following morning, Rynda woke up to the sound of what felt like an earthquake. Upon closer inspection, they find that there exists a monster on the island. The monster is already big enough of a problem when suddenly the ship's crew also catches up to them, which puts them in danger from both sides. But fortunately, Gin arrives at the last moment and saves the group from the ship's crew. Rynda was extremely worried for him, so she asks him how he survived the storm. Gin explains that he saw the character's Landok written on the light ship, and the next moment that he woke up, he was already on the shores of this island. Now that Gin is here, the group wants to check up on the monster, but Remus has already done so, as he leads them into the cave to see it for themselves. Inside the cave, Gin notices the changes in Remus and reminds him that he should control the power inside his heart, as it might become dangerous for people close to him. Remus thanks Gin for his suggestion and tells him that he is the only person he can trust with his thoughts. While talking, they soon arrive at the center of the cave, where they discover a ball of light. Rynda gets a vision that suggests she leave immediately, as that thing is extremely dangerous. The group immediately leaves the island and arrives at the ship, where they see the cave splitting into two as the shining ball comes out and breaks into flying discs, which fly in multiple directions. This reminds Remus of the thing that he saw in his dream, which reassures him that he is on the right path. Meanwhile, Archduke Vlad learns about her daughter's foolishness in falling in love with Naris, so in frustration, he can only plot Naris' assassination. He then sends Sid, who is one of his trusted aides, to find the twins. After everything is done, he calls Mile, his only son, and tells him that he will be getting married to Sylvia, the daughter of the Emperor Achirus. Mile is extremely depressed after hearing the news, so to cheer him up, his servant finds a bard who turns out to be none other than Marius. Marius can't believe that he got into the enemy's territory this easily and starts planning his next move. Back to Gin, they are stranded on sea for days. Gin and Remus are standing on the deck of the ship, where Remus mentions that he feels that the teleportation device and the flying discs aren't from this world. He wonders if he can possess both of these technologies so that he might be able to rule the world. Gin is quite surprised and asks him why he is telling him this, so Remus answers that it's because Gin is also not from this world. Things are getting quite weird, but fortunately, the group comes across a ship, which is a military vessel from Agrea. They fire a distress signal in the hope that they will at least escort them to Argos. In the meantime, Marius keeps on getting closer to Mile in order to find an opportunity to assassinate him. But the closer they become, the harder it gets for Marius to assassinate him as he starts finding his childhood in the eyes of Mile. One night, he gets the orders to assassinate Mile, but when it's time for him to do the job, he starts shaking and is unable to do it after all. Instead, he decides to assassinate Archduke Vlad in this way. Mile will become the next Archduke, and he will be able to control the Mongols through it. While he is planning, Valerius also explains his plan to Duke Rien is about letting Remus die. And with Amnelis marrying Naris, he will become the Archduke of not only Crystal but also the Mongols. And if Remus isn't in the way, Naris might be able to rule over the whole Parros as well. Rhaenys reminds him that they serve Parros and not any specific person. Valerius corrects Rhaenys and informs him that he serves him and only him, so wherever he goes, he will follow him. Later, Valerius meets Astrias and hands him a sword which is draped with poison strong enough to kill anyone. He manipulates Astrias into attacking Naris when he is about to kiss the bride. While everyone is scheming, Naris is also scheming on his own. He knows that someone will try to assassinate him, so he has already set up a few plans in motion. Soon, the day of the wedding arrives, and Amnelis, who hated the thought of wearing a wedding dress, now happily arrives wearing one. Naris, on the other hand, is also dressed in the traditional wedding clothes as both couple walks towards the temple. However, the people of Parros aren't happy with his marriage, so to appease them, Naris delivers a powerful speech as he asks the people to trust in him and his judgment. In the meantime, Marius is still with Mile, who is unable to sleep as the lightning continues to strike. To make him fall asleep, Marius leaves the room to bring his musical instrument. But when he arrives, he realizes that the sorcerer who was beside him has already assassinated Mile under the orders of his brother Naris. Marius is devastated to learn that Mile is dead, which makes the sorcerer worried that he might end up doing something else, so he uses dark magic to take him away. Back to Naris. He and Amnelis are finally about to get married when suddenly a rogue soldier attacks Naris and assassinates him. Amnelis is devastated to see her first love in this world die in such a tragic way. She immediately orders her soldiers to unmask the rogue soldier, and when she learns that it's Astrias, she becomes disgusted with him and immediately asks them to throw him into a prison cell to rot forever. Amnelis is already devastated by the death of her husband when she also learns that her brother is dead. This puts Amnelis into a shock coma as she is unable to understand what is even going on. She decides to leave everything in the past and never look back ever again. She is not the only one who is in such a condition, as Marius also leaves everything behind to start a new life away from all of this political drama. Meanwhile, all this is going on. Valerius discovers that both the poisoned sword and Astrias are missing from the prison cell. As a sorcerer, he only knows one person who is able to do such a thing without making anyone even realize what happened. The culprit behind everything is casually sitting in a secret room, sipping on wine as he talks about his future plans. That person is none other than Naris, who prepared this whole crime scene with a body double to make sure that the world believes that he is dead. This will allow him to move in secretly and fully initiate his revenge plan on his enemies. After traveling with the Agria fleet, Gin and the group finally arrive at the Agria royal palace, where Remus meets King Volgo and requests that he give one platoon to him, and in exchange, he will remember his favor when he becomes the king of Parros. Volgo tells him that he doesn't need any favors but a promise that he will marry his daughter Almina when she grows up to become an adult. Remus promises on his royal honor and leaves the Agria royal palace with the new platoon and his companions. Meanwhile, Koslan learns from Rygia that Naris is still alive, but he can't believe her, so she sets up a meeting between them. Naris asks Koslan to defect to Parros' side, and in return, he will allow him to marry Rygia, which will officially make him the hero when he reclaims Parros. Koslan knows that he has already burned the bridges with the Mongols due to his bad relations with the commander of the White Army, so it's better for him to join Naris and become a hero. Back to Remus, he arrives at Argos where he meets his Aunt Emma and his uncle King Staku. In front of them, Remus swears on his hair that he will become the next king of Parros and free his people from the tyranny of the Mongols. While this is all going on, Duke Skull and Duke Beck continue with their own personal attack on Mongols as they plan to lead their troops through Wyvern Mountains to launch a surprise attack against Mongols and recapture Parros. Back to Argos, Istvan takes Rynda to see a mirage of a palace that only appears during sunset. He confesses to Rynda that he feels inferior to her and wants to make a name for himself, so when the day comes to marry her, he will make her the queen and not her make him the king instead. While the couple is sealing their love with a kiss, the people that Sid hired to bring back the twins and dispose of Gin are already on the move as they now know that Gin is in Argos. In the midst of all of this, the Sea Nations are also tired of the Mongols continuously attacking everyone, so they all join hands to aid Parros in defeating the Mongols once and for all. Volgo played a huge role in all of this as he believes in Remus's strength and conviction to lead Parros to victory. Meanwhile, Istvan is staying at an inn whose owner is a kind-hearted woman named Mila. Mila's husband died at sea one day, and afterwards she never saw him. She can see Istvan's resemblance in him, so she helps him hide here from the prying eyes. One night, Istvan ends up discovering a spy from the Mongols who gets killed by the soldiers from allied nations. But before he dies, he hands over a letter to the Mongols alongside an insignia to prove the authenticity. While Istvan feels that he has uncovered a huge secret, Khoslan also realizes that following Naris was the right choice, as Commander Terran doesn't even trust him at all. So when Terran approaches to lead a revolution in Crystal, he rejects him, stating that it's not his job. On the other side, Duke Beck and Duke Skull are struggling to conquer the Wyvern Mountains, which makes their soldiers depressed, if they will survive the harsh cold or not. They are not the only ones struggling, as Remus, who has finally gained support from his uncle and aunt, is now ready to lead Argos into battle against the Mongols in Parros and retake his land. He meets Gin, who praises him for his courage and promises that if fate doesn't put them against each other, he will continue to aid him and see where life takes them. While they are taking, an assassin hired by Sid appears out of nowhere and strikes Gin. Fortunately, Gin is always on his guard, so he is able to defend and counter-kill the assassin in just a few seconds. Back to Istvan. He finally manages to learn something from the Mongols' message, so he leaves Mila and thanks her for letting him hide at her inn for so many days. Before leaving, he hands her the golden insignia of the Mongols, which might pay for everything that he spent at her inn. But as Istvan previously said, he is truly the bringer of calamities, as right after he leaves, the allied nation's troop arrives and they unalive Mila because of the golden insignia in her hands. After disposing of her, they once again start chasing after Istvan, whom they suspect to be a spy from the Mongols. Meanwhile, Crystal City, which has been the heart of all the chaos, finally erupts as the citizens have had enough of the Mongols' tyranny. In retaliation, all of the citizens decide to lead a revolt to push back Mongols away from the city. Using the chaos as an opportunity, Naris reveals to the world that he is still alive and leads all of the Crystal citizens to defeat the Mongols and retake Crystal City. With Crystal City under his command, Parros is close to being freed from the grasp of the Mongols. However, this victory came at a cost. Hundreds of innocent citizens died to fire the revolution. Aside from these citizens, there were also unnamed heroes like Khoslan who were supposed to make a name for themselves in this revolution and be hailed as the eternal heroes. However, the cruel irony of their fate led them to their deaths without giving them a chance to inscribe their names in history. Meanwhile, this revolution is in its final phase. Remus, who has been stuck in a stalemate against Kahlo's forces, learns about the miracle that Naris has performed by successfully leading a revolt against the Mongols. The messenger informs Remus that Naris called Remus back to Parros and reclaim himself as the king. However, Remus feels that it would undermine his authority, so he rejects his offer and instead decides to first finish his battle against Kahlo's forces and then head back to Parros like a true king. Rhinda starts to become worried about Remus' behavior and complains to Gin about him contradicting her, even though he always listened to her in the past. Gin comforts her and assures her that Remus is just in a growing phase and that if he doesn't learn to act like a true king, he won't be able to lead Parros. While they are talking, Gin is once again ambushed by the assassins hired by Sid, and this time they feel even more deadly, so Gin suggests that Rhinda get back and let him deal with this alone. Even though there are two assassins this time, but they still aren't a match for Gin. After disposing of both of them, he resumes his talk with Rhinda naturally as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Amnelis learns the news that Naris is still alive, and that he has also taken over Crystal City. After learning that he manipulated her all this time, Amnelis becomes heartbroken and swears to unalive Naris with her own two hands. To show her conviction to her father, Amnelis cuts off her hair and burns all of her female clothes to show her father that she is going to be a proper general from now on. Archduke Vlad allows her to lead the grand army of Mongols and raze Naris and his revolutionary army to the ground. On the other side, Duke Skull and Duke Beck learns about Naris' revolution, so they end up revising their plan to attack Crystal, and instead wait on the border to intercept the Mongol army that will be coming to take over Crystal once again. As for Istvan, he brings the letter to Naris, which mentions the Mongols' plan to assassinate Volgo at the Ross port when he arrives. To reward him, Naris makes Istvan a knight under his command and hands him his insignia. The following morning, Commander Terran leads the White Knights' army to attack the Revolutionary Army and recapture Crystal. However, before they can even step into the city, Valerius, who had already infiltrated the White Knights before the battle, assassinates Terran, which causes his army of White Knights to become scrambled as they retreat in fear. Istvan is shocked to see Naris' method and finally realizes the true might of Rhinda's fiancé. Amneli's army, which was coming to aid Terran, gets intercepted by Duke Skull, who informs her that Terran is already dead, so she had better retreat or she will face enemies from two sides. Amnelis is once again forced to retreat in an embarrassing defeat, which causes her hatred for Naris to grow even further. After learning about Amneli's defeat, Naris realizes that she will gather all of her forces once again and attack Crystal once again. This time, they can't just rely on tactics, so he heads out with his army to meet Duke Skull and ally with him to face the Mongols' final attack together. Meanwhile, Remus comes to ask Gin for advice, and he asks him if he should accept Naris' suggestion to let Kalo's forces retreat, and then head out to join Naris in the final attack against the Mongols. Even though accepting this strategy might cause Remus to feel like a puppet king, but Gin tells him that sometimes being a puppet for the greater good isn't bad. Just when Remus is about to leave, he gets ambushed by the assassins from the Mongol who capture Remus to force Gin into surrendering. But Gin has the help of Sunni, who distracts the assassins long enough for Gin to free Remus and then counterattack the assassins to finish his job. Before the assassins die, they inform Gin that Cid knows about his identity and that he is waiting for him ahead. Back to Naris, he starts to enjoy the company of Istvan, who shares the same ambitions as him. But Istvan's ambition is to just become a king, while Naris' ambition is far greater, as he wants to become a god who knows all the secrets of the world. For that, he needs Reinda, who has the ability to look into the future. After learning his ambitions, Istvan leaves Naris' side because he feels that he won't be able to become worthy of Reinda if he keeps on staying beside him. Meanwhile, Naris knows that Istvan has left, but he doesn't care as he knows that they will meet again. He heads out to meet Duke Skull, and together they propose a plan to meet Amneli's army and defeat her together. Gin also bids his farewell to the twins as he tells them that if fate allows him, they will meet again. Amnelis, who was gathering her forces to fight in one final battle against Naris, learns that her father has died. With no Archduke, everything relies on Amneli's shoulders, so her military advisor requests her to leave and head back to the capital city, Taurus, to defend against any invasion that the Mongols might face. Amnelis accepts his decision as she knows that Naris will definitely follow them all the way to Taurus. However, what she didn't expect was that their closest ally, the state of Kun, would betray them and block their way to Taurus. Faced with a pincer attack from both sides, Amneli's army immediately surrenders despite Amnelis still insisting on facing Naris by herself. Her military advisor knocks her out and takes her away to surrender to Kun in the hope that they will allow Amnelis to live. Amnelis later wakes up and finds herself in Kun's capital, where she is held captive without even an option to unalive her. Besides her is her only trusted maid who assures Amnelis that as long as she is still alive, Mongols will never die. Gin finally meets Cid, who tells him that he is the incarnation of all the sins in the world. Gin doesn't believe him, so Cid knocks him out with a single punch, as Gin isn't even able to resist his command on his body. Cid then takes Gin to the Taurus, where he ties him to a wall as he talks about wanting to meet the royal twins. Gin realizes that Cid is also after the ancient device in the hands of Parros. But before he can get any more information, Taurus is invaded by the joint forces of Naris and Kun, who take over the city and remove the name of Mongol from the world. With Mongols out of the equation, Duke Skull leaves on his mission to find a powerful ancient weapon that's hidden in Nosferus. According to Duke Skull, Mongols had been trying to look for that weapon for years, but each time they faced the harsh conditions of Nosferus, and no one ever returned except that one sorcerer who is now also dead. Naris also learns about Duke Skull's journey to Nosferus, which makes him curious, as all the important people he knows in his life have all gone to Nosferus in one way or another. This makes him wonder what it is that attracts everyone to go towards it. Meanwhile, Amnelis, who is the captive of Kun's state, is faced with two choices: either marry into the Kun family to continue her bloodline or die. Amnelis accepts the first choice, but she seems to have her own plans. For the first time in her life, she has fallen in love with a man, and that experience taught her a lot of things about the hearts of people. On the other side, Cid deceives the twins into following him into a cave, which turns out to be the ruins of the Khanan Empire that used to rule Nosferus thousands of years ago before Gin brought it to ruins. Cid brought the twins here to fulfill a ritual to activate the device, but Gin arrives on time and saves the twins from the evil schemes of Cid. Cid is extremely angry at Gin for always ruining his plans, so this time he plans to kill him once and for all. He reveals his true form, which is an alien-looking being who doesn't seem to be from this world. Gin, using the power of Akira, manages to defeat Cid, but their fight destroys the structure of the cave under which Cid gets buried and dies. From the cave, the same ball of light emerges, which shoots into the sky just like the dreams that Remus saw. Gin also hears a voice from the light, which tells him that if he goes north, he will find the answers that he is looking for. After everything is over, Gin once again leaves the twins to go north to look for his answers, and the twins leave to head back to Parros once again, which they left last time to save their lives. After returning home, Remus starts preparing for his coronation ceremony, as Parros still needs a new king after the previous one died in a Mongol invasion. Everything is going on fine till the day of the ceremony, when Rinder receives a vision regarding her own brother and how dark his future will be once he ascends the throne. Gin, who is on his way to the north, stumbles into Istvan, who wants to have a duel with him. Gin easily defeats Istvan, who tells him that the next time they face each other, they won't be friends but foes. Despite the terrible visions, Remus ascends the throne successfully and becomes the new king of Parros. Gin also leaves for his journey as Istvan promises that he will also become a king, even if it means stealing destiny itself. Amnelis also forgives Naris as she realizes that the time she spent with her only forged her heart to be stronger. With all the shining stars moving towards their own fates, who will come out as the victor in the end is still unknown. That's all for today. If you enjoyed our video, give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.